Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad we got this on the agenda. It's something that has come up around the edges at some of our previous meetings in connection with Ed Red. We had some time tonight, and I think it was helpful for everybody to hear these issues from you and to have a look at this memo. Mark has something, and then Jonathan, I see your hand up as well.
I have a comment and then a couple of questions. We've all been reading about this a lot, and then your report tonight really shed some light on some serious issues, and the whole thing just looks like a debacle. My question is, I'm not seeing any benefit. No one has talked about any benefit that our students or our school might receive by administering the PARCC test. Am I missing anything?
No.
Good. I didn't think so. So my other question, and this is a departure from my normal practice of trying not to ask a question like this until I'm pretty sure of the answer, but I have to ask it anyway. What happens if we just don't do it? What's the penalty? What happens if we mount a PR campaign and shame the state with some of what was in your report tonight and say, we're not going to do it because it's going to damage our students, and we're not in the business of damaging our students? What happens if we just don't do it? What do they do to us?
I got a hunch that they would figure out sanctions, because it's kind of that type of approach right now. I mean, there's been a lot of pressure that you are going to do this. So I would worry about that there might be some sanctions, whatever they might be, Mark. I know that some districts have already worried, and we're worried, that because, unlike, let's say, the ACT, we're not 100% sure how our students will even respond or how seriously they'll take it. But we do know that they are required to take it prior to graduation. So we don't want to, punish our kids. But I do think we have a concern: how seriously will the kids take it? And frankly, how much pressure will we put on our kids to take it seriously? And I think there's still an awfully big question mark there. So I appreciate you raising that issue.
Go ahead, Marcus.
May I add, and you may ask what some of those sanctions may look like. I know when some schools talked about the state threatened to pull the certification of every teacher in that school if that school didn't administer that particular assessment. So they're pretty serious.
Well, all right. And Jonathan, did you have something?
Well, I guess my question was similar to Mark's in terms of, I'm trying to figure out, so this test will not tell us how our students are doing compared to students in other states, right? Because some states have one and some states. It will not tell us how this year's juniors are doing compared to previous year's juniors, right? Because it won't be the same thing. It will not help them get into college, right? I'm trying, and I assume for our own internal purposes, we're going to have to continue assessments that do work for us. So am I correct that this is going to have to come on top of the other testing? Because we can't say, oh, we don't need to do the ACT anymore because now we're doing the PARCC test, because the PARCC test doesn't do for us what the ACT does, right?
Correct. Right.
So we will have to continue to do both, right?
Yeah, we will have to. Yes, we will. We will continue to administer the ACT. Now, the state moved that date from late April to early March. Now, we know when you roll that test date back like that, it results in, on average, a decreased ACT score, about 1 point. Now, you might think 1 point, what's 1 point? But if it's the only time the student's gonna take the test, that point may make the difference between college admissions to certain schools or scholarship money. So again, it's not the best educational decision to roll that test back to March 3rd from the end of April. and the state is phasing out the funding for that in 2 years.
And if the waivers from No Child Left Behind were lifted, let's say, 2 years from now, we have a new president, we no longer have this waiver regime, and so we're back to straight out No Child Left Behind, okay? Would the measure of performance for schools in Illinois be PARCC?
At this point.
Yeah.
And in fact, I want to add to the ACT thing. At one point, they announced that the ACT would not be part of it at all, and it would be optional. But they have funded it in these last many years, and it was like a voucher that they would pay for students if they wanted to take the ACT. Of course, the problem is there's no longer a testing day in Illinois, so they would have to sign up on their own and take it on a Saturday, which means we would lose all that comparative data of giving it to all the juniors because it'd go back to being, self-selected. So that already was a problem, but the high schools screamed and hollered so much that they decided to stick with it for a couple of years. I'm thinking, I don't know, did they say this out loud, Pete, until we get PARCC more ramped up or whatever. I don't know if they actually said that or not.
They talk explicitly about crosswalk. The reason they're testing juniors, okay, they're trying to test juniors, is because they want to ultimately crosswalk student results on PARCC to ACT and
What
tap
does
into that.
crosswalk mean?
Crosswalk means, hey, a score on the PARCC test is the same as this score on the PARCC test is the same as a 36 on the ACT. That's good to go at this college. So then they can make an argument that it does serve the purpose of career and college ready. The other thing to bear in mind with PARCC is that it's being developed by Pearson Testing Services, and they're the largest, if not the largest. They're
I think they're the largest now in the school business.
In the testing business. So they're going into the market for post-secondary admission. That's where they're headed. Now the problem they're having is that states are dropping off. Again, we went from 22 to 12. So that significantly, that doesn't make a compelling argument for colleges and universities to accept that test.
Right. So I have a question. We have, last I knew, we had a resident of Evanston sitting on the Illinois State Board of Ed, Steve Guilford. Is he still there, and has anybody been in touch?